At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce you to a man who has served at the City of Thousand Oaks City Council for 24 years, including 6 terms as mayor. He also recently retired from the Los Angeles City Fire Department in July of this year, following 38 years of service, most recently as Assistant Fire Chief. Over the past 24 years on the City Council, he was on numerous committees, including the Ad Hoc Downtown Revitalization Committee, the Cultural Arts Review Committee, the City Finance and Audit Committee, and also currently serves on the Board of Directors for the Conejo Open Space Conservation Agency. In addition to his service to the city, Mayor Fox has served on the League of California Cities Board of Directors, the League of California Cities Public Safety Policy Committee, and the League of California Cities Employee Relations Policy Committee. The mayor's vast experience in public service and leadership led to secondary careers in both conflict mediation and teaching. He serves as a professional mediator for the Los Angeles Superior Court. He is an adjunct professor for the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution of the Pepperdine University School of Law and has been an instructor at the National Fire Academy. In 2009, he received the John Conlon Award from the Thousand Oaks Rotary for his contributions to administrative governance and charitable causes in the Conejo Valley and Ventura County. Please give a warm welcome to Mayor Andy Fox.
Thank you, Chris. One side note, so right before I was getting ready to get introduced, my wife, who's always been supportive with impeccable timing, came up to remind me that I forgot to let the folks catering know that she's a vegetarian and doesn't eat meat. So she came up to tell me in her very loving way, by the way, I enjoyed the green beans. I was going to save this for the end, but I actually would want to do it right now. I'm very blessed. No matter where I go, what I do, when I walk into a room, I'm with the most beautiful girl, both inside and out, a guy could have. And with that, I want to present my wife, Leticia, with some flowers. She whispered to me, I would have preferred lunch. I want to begin with some well-deserved thank yous. First, I want to thank Cal Lutheran University and the entire CLU family, of which, as Chris pointed out, I'm proud to be a member of, for not just hosting this event, but for the tremendous partnership the university has played in our community. From providing for facilities for the Los Angeles Rams to the emergency shelters that they provided after the recent fires for evacuations. We're very blessed to have such a high-quality, higher institution of learning right here in our own backyard, and I just couldn't be more proud to be both a member of the Cal Lutheran fraternity and a member of their city where they provide such great education to our young people. Also want to recognize the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce and their CEO, Jill Leder. You're going to hear more about Jill tonight at the council meeting. But the city and the chamber have enjoyed a great partnership for many decades. Like CLU, the chamber, from the CEO right down to individual members and business owners, do a great job giving their time and talents for so many, and they go far beyond the basic mission of a community chamber of commerce. I'd like both the representatives, all the representatives from Cal Lutheran and the chamber to please stand up so we can show them our appreciation, not just for today, but what they do day in and day out. So please stand. So normally on occasions like this, they begin with an icebreaker, and I have been known to tell a funny story or an anecdote. I'm not going to do that this time. And the reason is, we all know there's an elephant in the room. Frankly, there's nothing funny about what's happened over the past month if you worked, lived, shopped, or went to school in Thousand Oaks. On November 7th, around 11 p.m., our community joined the list that no city wants to be on. Sandy Hook, Columbine, Orlando, Parkland, Las Vegas, and now Thousand Oaks. Now, our city is annually listed as one of the safest cities in the country by the FBI. Now it was on the list for a mass shooting. 13 people died, including the assailant. The victims also included Ventura County Sheriff Sergeant Ron Helis, who died as a result of gunshot wounds during the initial efforts to neutralize the assailant. This night would indeed be the darkest nights for many families who would soon receive the worst possible news that their loved ones were among the 12. Just as we thought the worst experience and nightmare possible could happen to our community, less than 24 hours after the borderline incident, 2 major brush fires struck our city. Fanned by strong Santa Ana winds and drought conditions, the fire swept through the eastern Ventura and western LA County areas. Thousand Oaks was at the epicenter, where fire literally surrounded our entire city. 2/3 of the city was under mandatory evacuation. Before the families of the borderline could even start their grieving process, many were forced to leave their homes. Plumes of dark black smoke surrounded our city. Dozens of homes were on fire, and in the surrounding community, hundreds. Our night just got darker. This was the picture of Thousand Oaks, but it was not the only picture. It was, in fact, a snapshot. It was a moment in time. The bigger picture is this: there is another side of the coin. On November 8th, less than 24 hours after the tragedy at the borderline, in the midst of a firestorm, our city manager, Drew Powers, and the city executive team pulled together an interfaith prayer vigil to begin, even in the early stages, the much-needed healing process for our community. The Fred Cavley Theater was filled to capacity, while hundreds more sat in overflow areas with TV monitors. As a community, we came together, we cried together, we hoped together, and yes, we prayed together. We prayed for the souls of the borderline. We prayed for Sergeant Helis and his family and his law enforcement brothers and sisters. We prayed for the firefighters and police officers, sheriff deputies, who were still hard at work, putting themselves at risk to protect our community from the ravages of an unforgiving firestorm. I know we have representatives here today, both from law enforcement and the fire service. I'd like all of them to stand, including our most recently retired Sheriff Dean, so we can show them our appreciation and their service and sacrifice to keep our families safe. All of you, please stand up. The other day at Sheriff Dean's retirement dinner, he was commenting when he was talking about our fire chief, how much he literally hated talking about firefighters because we get all the glory and really none of the bad stuff. So I'm going to join Jeff in this particular moment. I'm going to ask Tim Hagel to stand. Most people in this community see Tim as our police chief. He does incredible things. He's an incredible leader. And he does a lot of things that are out of the mission of a police chief. But during this last month, Tim went above and beyond I could spend all afternoon, and he didn't know I was going to do this, talking about how he ministered to the families of the borderline, from traveling out of state, helping them coordinate all the celebrations of life and memorial service. I got a text from Tim sometime back that between he and I, he mentioned that he had been to more church in the last 2 weeks than he had in the last several years. And I sent him back a text, and I meant every word of it. I said, you might have not have been to church, but you've been doing God's work for a long time. Tim Hagel. Good job. Right on cue, pal. All right, baby. We're still a committee. Early in that same day, hundreds of people from our community lined up to donate blood, and a victims assistance fund was set up through the Ventura County Community Foundation. I want you to know that today that fund is over $2 million and still growing. It has assisted families in expenses with funeral and memorial costs, as well as fire relief. I understand we have some representatives from the Ventura Community Foundation here. Could they please stand? They're not here. Okay. Well, we give them thanks anyway for a great job. While the entire nation watched, our city showed how a city of over 130,000 people could still be a community. Now, during all these events, the city still continued to operate on a day-to-day basis. City functions like Public Works, Department of Finance, library, planning, every city function and every city service continued to operate. Coordinating and overseeing all city operations was our new assistant city manager, Ingrid Hardy. After an extensive nationwide search, we basically stole Ingrid from the city of Oxnard. She has nearly 2 decades in public service leadership. She's able to make a smooth transition in the assistant city manager role. She literally did get a trial by fire during her first 6 months with the city. We're lucky to have her. I'd like Ingrid to stand and all of us give her a nice, warm Thousand Oaks welcome. And while we're at it, Ingrid, you can keep standing. While we're at it, I'd like all the city executives, all the city employees to please stand. Drew Powers, I saw Jay here, Cindy's here, Tracy. These people worked so incredibly hard. We all owe them a debt of gratitude. A lot of people don't know what an EOC is. It's an emergency operations center, and it's activated in the event of a large-scale emergency. What you probably don't know is you probably think a lot of people that operate in there are uniformed police officers and firefighters, but they're not. They're your executive city staff, Ms. Noonan, Mr. Spurgeon, and beyond. And they basically staff that EOC 24 hours a day. And as I said, that's not their primary role. They have other responsibilities. But I was there at the EOC for the first several days, and these folks did an outstanding job coordinating with law enforcement and the fire service in evacuation notifications and a whole variety of things. And believe me, as tough as those emergencies were, they would not have gone as smoothly without our city staff and the EOC. You guys did a great job. I also want the community to know that your city council and other local elected folks were on the front and center to assist in any way they could. This last Friday, 3 more memorial services and celebrations of life were held for those who lost their lives at the borderline. Each of the 12 memorials, most, if not all, your city council representatives, your state assembly person, and others attended all of these to pay their respects on behalf of all the residents of Thousand Oaks. Mayor Pro Tem McCoy even officiated some of these memorials in his capacity as a pastor. I want to acknowledge my colleagues, and again, there'll be more tonight, not just for the past month, but for the countless hours each of them put in. I mentioned the night that I announced my retirement. These are committed public servants who care deeply about this community. Please join me in acknowledging Mayor Pro Tem Rob McCoy, Councilmember Bill De La Pena, Councilmember Al Adam, and Councilmember Joel Price. I would also be remiss if I did not talk about the world-class organizations that we are blessed to have right here in Thousand Oaks. Amgen, Anthem Blue Cross, Bank of America, Sage Publishing, Baxter, and of course, our very own Los Robles Medical Center. As great as all these organizations are, none of them are going to win a Super Bowl. Just a few hundred yards up the road, sitting in their temporary location, and that's with a quote, because we're working hard to welcome them permanently into our community, is the home of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, most of you know the NFL is well known for community service and outreach programs in communities all across the United States. However, given the events of this November, the entire Ram organization, from owner Stan Kroenke, executive VP Kevin Demoff, head coach Sean McVay, quarterback Jared Goff, all the players and staff, from the front office to the equipment managers, the Los Angeles Rams put their collected arms around our city. The combined efforts of player donations, jersey auctions, fundraising partnership with KCBS Channel 2 and KCAL 9 generated over $2.2 million of assistance, both for borderline families and relief assistance for the fires. Culminating these efforts was an epic Monday night football game between the Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. With a national audience of over 16.5 million viewers, the Rams showed the entire country what corporate citizenship is all about. From the national anthem to the coin toss to the lighting of the Olympic torch on top of the Coliseum by Sergeant Helis' family, the Los Angeles Rams showed the nation how a professional sports team cares for their hometown. LA Rams, class organization. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? All right. So we're about 10 minutes into my speech and we're done with November. Actually, no, we're not. We had an election on November 7th, and with that election brought 2 new council members to the dais. We talked about it earlier, but I'd like to officially welcome Councilmember-elect Ed Jones and Councilmember-elect Bob Engler. These 2 gentlemen are no strangers to community service. Both have long records of service in our community, and they're going to hit the ground running their very first day in the City Council. There is no question that November was a challenging time for the city, but I also want to just briefly talk about the many good things that happened during the course of the year. Our streets are a model for other cities in California. Our City Council has always put a very high priority on our infrastructure. During this past year, we paved and resurfaced over 51 miles of both residential and arterial roads. Putting your money where it counts, Council appropriated a one-time general fund expenditure of over $10 million, literally paving the way to safe and smooth travel around town. And speaking of travel, the days of traveling to West LA for passport service are over. Through a collaboration with both the state and the federal agencies, you can now go to the Thousand Oaks Library for your passport. Since opening in June, we have accepted over 900 applications. Travelers near and far have commented that getting a passport is as easy as a walk in the park. And what better park to take that walk than our new Sapwe Park in the Lane Ranch area of the city. In September, partnering with the Park District, the City Council authorized $2.5 million in grant funding to go towards the construction of this new fantastic park. Amenities include an 18-hole Frisbee golf course, a high school cross-country track, a BMX road bike track, passive picnic area, and over 5 miles of community trails. Park districts here, like them again to stand, recognize we are so blessed and fortunate to have a park system and trail system that surrounds our community. They do a great job. Let's show the Park District our appreciation. Abe Lincoln was famous for many quotes. One of my favorites is, "The best way to predict your future is to create it." And that's exactly what I'm proposing as I leave service after 24 years for this city over the next several years. Our current general plan was approved in 1970, and you can tell by the picture that was a long time ago. This has been the blueprint for our city and has served us extremely well, no question. Nevertheless, it's 50 years old and it's in need of a comprehensive update. Think about it. Every sector, both public and private, has dramatically changed over the course of the last 50 years. Environmental regulation, transportation, the automotive industry, the internet, technology, medicine, housing, real estate, all have dramatically changed and evolved over the past half century. So have some of our social and legal issues as well. Issues surrounding homelessness, mental health, even legalized marijuana, just to name a few. A comprehensive general plan update that engages the entire community, culminating, I would recommend, in a citywide vote, is essential to creating a vision for our next 50 years. Along with that vision, in 1994, which the year I was first elected to the City Council, the Civic Arts Plaza, not a bad picture. Little side note, I designed that motto because I didn't have a campaign right there. It was just me and Jill and a few other folks. 1994, the council opened up the Civic Arts Plaza and the new City Hall were opened. This facility is now 25 years old. It is a result of the vision of past city councils. The vision for a central downtown was not without much public debate, often heated debate. I can remember walking precincts in my very first campaign. The community was pretty much split 50-50, support or against the Civic Arts Plaza. Now, regardless of where you stood 25 years ago, fair-minded folks would have to agree that the vision of those civic leaders in the 1990s has positioned us well in 2018. Now the responsibility falls to us. After 20 years of starts and stops, dozens of community workshops, charrettes, consultant reports, staff recommendations, this City Council, through a collaborative effort with stakeholders and the greater community, has laid the foundation for a downtown master plan. We've created a process of transparency, public participation, and extreme vetting to ensure that the downtown core master plan not just comes to fruition, but does it in a way that is in alignment with the character and the expectations of our community. Make no mistake, it is time to execute in creating a gathering place for our community that's walkable, pedestrian-friendly, an environment that includes entertainment, public art, shops, and restaurants. This is no time to turn back. We've done too much work. This community deserves a downtown. It deserves to be a contemporary city, and we need to continue to move forward. Included in this plan should be a responsible, and I emphasize a responsible, mix of housing opportunities. Unlike the 90s, with its political infighting and frankly questionable ethics, this City Council has demonstrated the willingness and the ability to navigate through difficult public policy issues and debate while remaining civil to their colleagues and the community alike. November 7th was Election Day, if you remember, and this country was bitterly divided. And I would guess to some degree that included Thousand Oaks. But in the course of just a few short hours on that day, what seemed important was quickly reduced to insignificance. Our collective focus was on one another, our faith, our family, our friends, and our community. Perhaps our city fathers had some divine providence in deciding our city's name. The oak tree often has reference to describe beauty, strength, and resilience. Well, after a quarter century in civic leadership, this, ladies and gentlemen, in my humble opinion, is the state of our city. Beauty, strength, and resilience. Our beauty is unparalleled, with waterfalls, natural open space surrounding a city of well-planned neighborhoods and architecturally pleasing buildings. Our financial strength and security provides us with a solid infrastructure, outstanding municipal services, and solid reserves that will maintain financial stability in both prosperity and recession. And finally, there can be no question about this city's resilience. Webster defines resilience as the ability to withstand and recover from difficult conditions and situations. Our long, dark night is over, and yes, the night has turned to dawn. Let's embrace this light of the new day because we are T.O. Strong. God bless you all.